Okay, we are back today to talk about what is a 9.4, and in front of us right here is my cheat sheet, okay, on the scales. Is in my 9.8 and 9.6 video. I mentioned how each 0.1 deduction is equal to one tiny flaw, and the tiny flaw can be many things. It could be just a little scratch, a little dent, a little spine crease, or even a rounded corner or a slightly blunted corner. Can be viewed as can fall into the category of a tiny flaw. Okay, so let's look at the first example. Okay, this book right here, you can see there are a tiny corner crease right there. It's barely visible, but the size is about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so if you look at the scales that I have, it's definitely small enough that it can fit into the 9.4 range, and too big to be able to get a 9.6 even if the rest of the book is flawless. Okay, and let's take a look at the rest of the book. As you can see, there is a gorgeous copy, but if I just can zoom in, as you can see right there where my finger is, there's a couple, there's two spine stress right there. Okay, and then there's one near the staple, not a big deal, but as you can see beside the corner crease there are some small spine flaws. So as the rest of the book is super nice, you can see why this book falls in the 9.4 category. The back cover is beautiful, nothing wrong with it, and is in all my examples tutorial. Let's assume that the interior has no issues. It's flawless as far as the staple and no tears of any page inside. Okay, so that's the first example of a solid 9.4. Okay, let's take a look at this one. His witching hour. From the distance it looked pretty good. If you go closer, you can see the bottom edge here is production related corner. Okay, as far as the edge, not a big deal. Okay, but right there, even if it's related to the production flaws of this entire edge, I would count all of that as a one tiny flaw deduction. Okay, so you get one, and then if you look at the top corner here, it's not razor sharp, it's slightly rounded. Okay, so that's two. This right here is overspray. Let me show you. It's not a color flaw. Okay, that's where the overspray hit the front cover. That's take no deduction. Okay, so far we get one, and then two. Let's see what the rest of the flaw can be. Let's take a look at this book. So let's take a look at where the staple is right there. You can see there are two dent there on the spine, and if you look up you can see three more dent on the spine. Okay, so on the spine itself you get 1, 2, 3, 5 little dent, and then you have the soft corner there, and the production flaw down here that may not be counted, but we can count it. So if you add everything up together, you're looking at, you know, 5, 6 little tiny flaws there, and that's enough to keep this book as a 9.4. There is no way I can see this book higher. I also don't see it anything lower than a 9.4 either. Okay, so that's example number 2, and as the other book, the back cover is flawless. A lot of time you see books on the back cover have these little lines like this. A lot of time it could be like near the spine. That's production color related. Okay, it look like sometimes it can look like a rust imprint from a staple from another book, but that's not the case. You see this quite often. I'm not sure how that got into the production process, but I have seen it many times, and I have submitted books that have that little mark like that on 1 or 2 spot on the spine, and they got 9.6 from CGC, so it's not a big deal. But let's move on to the next example. Okay, here's a beautiful copy of Brave and the Bold. Let's take a look. The top corner, everything look razor sharp. Okay, let's count flaws. Okay, that's 1 tiny flaws. 1, 2, 3, perhaps 4, and then 5. Okay, that's 5. And then if you can see right here, this considered a binary tears, which is not a big deal for a book that is below 9.8. So far we can look at potentially 4 ding or maybe even 5 dings at the spine. Okay, and right there, as you can see, this corner is not completely razor sharp. It's slightly rounded. It's not a crease there. Okay, but it's weak enough to be counted as 1. So here we go. If you count all of the tiny little flaws I pointed out, you're looking at least 6. Okay, and the back cover is flawless. So here is another book that would fall into the 9.4 category. Still a beautiful book, as you can see. Last but not least is this book, and I want to point this one out in that it will not make the cut for 9.4, and let me show you why. Okay, top corner, top edge, beautiful. Okay, here's 1 tiny flaw, here's 2, and that's 3, 4 and 5, okay, 6, okay, right here you see a little tear here. This is production related. It's fairly common. A lot of time when they during the staple process, somehow the machine does cut the book, and that's not a big deal. I have seen it in 9.6 slab, so CGC does count it as a production related flaws. Whenever I have books that have this little tear where the staple is, I am very careful of opening it because I don't want to make the tear worse. Okay, it's easy to tell if a tear is man-made or production related, because the production related tear where the staple is very clean, razor sharp cut. It's not a tear like you would tear a piece of paper. But so far, let's recap since I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have a soft corner here, so that make it 7. Okay, a slightly blunted corner, so that's 7, and the rest of this book is beautiful. So, so as sad as I have to say it, this book, the edge, all the corners are razor sharp, but there are just enough flaws on the spine and the corners that I think this is what I would call, if CGC gives this a 9.4, I would consider that a gift grade. It's definitely a lot nicer than a 9.2 would be, but it just have a little bit way too much. There's no such thing as a 9.3, but it has just too many flaws in my opinion to be a 9.4. Okay, and the back cover is of course flawless, and hopefully the video helped you guys out there. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I will come back with another tutorial, and the next video will focus on 9.2. Thank you. Bye.